Welcome back to Tales of Yavard. We are Mythcraft TTRPG, and this is not our first campaign that sees Tale. This is going to be our first episode of the Tales of Tale. A little break in the story where we're gonna kind of talk about our experiences and how we've been doing. With me today, I have Adam.
Hello, I'm Adam, and normally I'm playing Goran Stormclaw. But
And tonight we also have Jesse.
Hey, I'm Jesse. Normally I play Zephyr.
All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a Q&A bit, but also like kind of a character, what happened, some stuff like that from you guys. And someone that probably had the biggest diversion in their character progression as far as like stats and stuff go. Jesse, why don't you talk to us about what happened after level 1?
So, level 1, I was originally just going to keep going. Level 1, I took Warden of the Primal. And it came with some magic, spells, stuff like that. And I was just going to keep following that. And I think we had started to do some stuff. And then between that, I was like, wait a minute. Let's switch that around and do Witch Entry, which brought along a familiar and some other abilities. Which it just, kind of opened things up a little bit better. And I'm taking that a different direction, following down that track, improving the familiar into level 3. But so like second level, I took Witch Entry. That I have just a whole bunch of spells. Well, I say spells. I have a whole bunch of chants. I have 2 spells and 2 invocations, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chants. And then, of course, I've got Smudge the Parrot.
Which is just amazing, by the way.
Yes. Yes, he has worked out phenomenally. There will be some changes happening with him soon. But so level 3, I took the talent Adaptive from the Witch track. It doesn't give a whole lot of boost itself. It just allows you to change your familiar's form during a recoup instead of a rest. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it can come in handy. Mostly what that did, though, was with what I've been taking starting at level 1, that put me up to 20 spell points at level 3, power level 3 for Primal, and the second tier, which really improves those chants quite a bit.
Right.
Man.
I think at this point, we have seen the new gear and everything that came out that you guys got from the shop. Is there anything in particular that you're finding you're using more than you thought you would, or that you would probably use? Did you buy something that maybe you wouldn't want to?
I'm definitely excited about the hand crossbow that I got. I bring the name of it here real quick.
The Duelist's Delight.
Yes, Duelist Delight. I am in love with that thing. That auto crit on the first attack in an initiative comes in handy.
Yeah.
To say the least. In addition to that, I'm excited to see what I can do with that vest that I got from Clef, which hides.
Right.
What was it?
One-handed weapons.
All one-handed weapons, not just light weapons.
Well, yeah, all one-handed weapons will receive the concealed tag. Which, for people that don't know, the concealed tag is a weapon tag in Mythcraft. If a weapon has the concealed tag, then when it is sheathed, it can be tucked into like folds of your clothes, inside a boot, and stuff like that. Concealed weapons are not readily visible to observers, but a pat down will reveal these weapons. If a creature succeeds on awareness check against your in check for you to hide the weapon, they can spot it without needing the pat down. But what that does is it definitely gives you at least a little bit of wiggle room on the maybe going into places with weapons that maybe you shouldn't have on you.
Yeah, and even if I'm not the one needing them, because right now I don't have anything that's not already concealed, because a hand crossbow is already pretty easy to conceal. But I can definitely grab somebody else's weapons if needed, and just be the smuggler.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. I don't know how many one-handed weapons are in the party.
I don't think any.
I
Really.
don't think
Maybe
we
I
have-
should.
There will be. All right, we'll get there. Still pretty
Because
early.
I know during the shopping episode you sold off a lot of the weapons that you started with.
I did, because I just honestly, if it hadn't been for Duelist Delight being so awesome, I probably wouldn't have grabbed it, because I've been using Lightning Lash more than anything else.
Right.
But for some things I have planned later on, having weapons is definitely going to be necessary.
All right. And I'm almost done picking on you, Jesse. Don't worry. Any future plans as far as character sheet development that you're excited for within the next 2-3 levels?
Well, that is a tricky question, because there is a lot of things that I'm excited about, although I don't know how quickly they're going to happen. But it's been a minute since I thought about it. I need to look at these again just real quick. This might be cut if it needs to be.
While you're taking a look at that, we did kind of poll a lot of our listeners kind of last minute for this to see if any of them had questions for us. And one of the ones that we got back was, how did we all meet? Which is a relatively fair question, because let's see. I think Adam, this is the first game we've played together.
Yes, I think I'm the newcomer to the group overall in terms of games and also knowing each other, I believe. I think everybody else sort of knew each other beforehand anyway.
Well, yes and no.
Ish.
So to be honest, outside of you, I have played games with everyone else, right?
Yeah.
I ran so many games of Mythcraft back when it was still the demo. I literally wrote up my own one shot for playtesting purposes, and I wrote up multiple of them, and one of them you guys may actually run through.
Oh, that's cool.
Of it.
Cool.
We'll see, because you guys will be a little bit higher leveled by the time you get there. But I mean, it's hard to buff things up to make levels a little better. But so I had posted about thinking about starting a podcast, and we all met on the Mythcraft server.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd run games for Kobe and Jesse before.
Well, I think before this, there had just been that one level 30 test game we did there.
So I have to disagree with you because
Well, there had been some play by post, but I mean, as far as
I'm going to disagree with that as well because we did Clovenlands. Started
was that before this?
It started before the podcast.
Yeah. See, my grasp on time is a little shaky.
Yeah, you know, again, just kind of, you know. So we played that. You were in and out of those demos before we got the late game content to take a look at, and then I gave everyone a week after we got that late game content and went, I'm running a level 31 shot on this day. Bring a character.
And that was fun.
It was definitely a learning curve for a lot of things, but with that being said, you know, I have played with Jesse and Kobe. They both played in the level 31 shot, and played in a lot of my smaller demos, my combat demos, and stuff like that before.
That being said, when it came time for this podcast, it really wasn't like a, hey, we all know each other. Do we want to do this podcast? It was just kind of like, hey, I believe it was you, Corey, that had originally started the idea. That was just kind of like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this podcast. Are there any volunteers?
So originally, I was actually going to do something else entirely. Originally, I wasn't going to podcast. So a little bit of a background. I come from another podcast and a small podcast group. So originally, I was just going to make informative-based content.
Okay, interesting.
And
I vaguely remember something about that.
Yeah, because I talked about I was going to open up Mythcraft 101.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember something about that.
I had started writing scripts off for different things. But then, you know, more people were talking about wanting to maybe do a podcast. And more people started talking about maybe wanting to do a podcast. And I decided, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. So far, this experience has been 100 times better than the last one.
Awesome. I'm genuinely very glad to hear that.
Oh yeah, and as a first for me, because I've had no experience whatsoever with this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the fan support that we've gotten from our fans has just kind of blown me away. Hitting 500 downloads when we did, I was just like,
It was episode 12, I think? Like right around that time? I don't know.
it was around, it was somewhere between Dockside Tales 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Let's
see.
Which would have been the 11th or 12th episode.
Okay, so that would be 6 and 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 1 and 2 are episodes 6 and 7, respectively.
Okay. But then we also had, I don't know if you're counting the prologues in that.
No, I'm not counting the prologues. I'm just counting the straight episodes. With the prologues, that's 10 and 11.
Yeah.
Which is still truly insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, it just the support that we've gotten from everyone, and us as a group working together to try and do what we can has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I am getting a little bit sidetracked here. This is going to be a fun episode, I think.
Yeah.
It's real easy to get sidetracked.
I will also say real quick for myself, but I also was the DM for a short-lived D&D 5e AP on YouTube, and this has also been a better experience so far on like across the board.
Do you think that is partially because you're not the DM?
I mean, it's less work on my end, like session to session, for sure. There were things going on behind the scenes, and a bunch of things fell apart, like within a day, and so the show ended up dead, like
On
not on start. It was like we were 10 or 11 episodes in, and then like one morning, I don't know what exactly started it, but some things started happening, and then truly within an hour, I went from having a full cast of players to my show is dead, and everybody is splitting off. And so I also, with no show now, or at the time, moved on as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I mean it's definitely a live and learn kind of industry, right?
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
but now to kind of guide us back on the rails just a little bit, Adam,
Yes.
why don't you talk to us about what Goron, the character sheet, has looked like since level 1?
Yes, so level 1, I took for Goron, the gold teddy bear boy, Warden of the Primal, which was just the level 1 primal spellcasting talent. And I grabbed 3 chance, and I think I have 5 spells right now, and then a couple of abilities. And then level 2 took the Oracle entry, because I really like it. And I'm going Druid overall, because I really like the Oracle tree, or the Druid tree of the Oracle class.
Mm-hmm.
I've used my chance more than anything else. I think I've used all 3 of them here and there.
Right.
In various combinations. I've used
And Tangle of Brambles.
I was
oh
gonna
my
say
God.
that's been your most
spell,
used.
that spell is so good. There are only 2 spells I have not used. One I literally could not use until now, spell point wise, and the
Right.
other one just didn't have a situation come up where it fit, and I don't want to spoil anything because I know they'll come up soon. But just know that I got 2 more tricks up my sleeve that I'm waiting to pull out. And then we are 3rd level, right?
Yep.
3rd level. I bumped my luck up so that I'm in tier 2 for primal, I believe. Yes. I grabbed the next step in the Oracle tree, which just gives me a little boost to astronomy and an ability to use astronomy instead of another survival skill, which is nice.
Wait, is it any survival skill, or do you choose that?
Use astronomy or astrology. In this case, astronomy or astrology, because that's what I did, was astrology. Use astrology in place of a skill with the survival tag once per recoup. So I can, if it's something that I don't have skill points in. So that's what that looks like now, and what it has looked like up until now. Looking forward, I'm going to stick with the Oracle tree, or with the Oracle class with the Druid track, and I'm going to take at 4th level, because I have it written down. Where did it go? 4th is Weird Wood. I like the idea of it lore-wise. I like the occult Magic in general, I think it's really cool, and I like the idea of Goron trying to, instead of going, because there's weird wood and there's old gods, I believe.
Yep.
Instead of old gods with the divine magic, where it's like an outward like spreading of that light and healing and stuff, I like the idea of him trying, with everything that he's gone through, to sort of take in the suffering and like the rot, as the weird wood describes things, for other people, and sort of like contain that so that they don't have to suffer for it. Because he is, I try to portray him as being very like caring about other people and like.
And it definitely shows. And not to just be like, you're the healer of the group, but you are also the healer of the group.
This is true. I've used my healing spell several times as well.
But also even in your interactions with Zephyr, talking about magic and stuff like that.
Which I'm gonna rabbit trail back to where I left off earlier, because that brings me to a direction that I'm planning to take in the future with Zephyr. While I love the Primal, and I intend to do quite a bit with the Primal with him as well, I also am intending to, kind of sidetrack down the psionic magic a little bit, because I'm a huge fan of that, and while could be a lot more to it, I really like what there's available there. And I feel like that's going to frustrate Goron even more, because now suddenly this magic that I already have this random affinity to, that I learned from books instead of training, now I'm just doing random stuff that isn't primal at all.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see Goron just sort of throw his hands in the air and give up on just.
Like,
it doesn't.
what
make
are you
sense.
even doing?
Yeah, you can't.
That's not primal.
That's how magic
It's the
works.
same. It's the same thing I'm doing over there.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm very excited for more of those interactions. It's actually one of my notes to continue our conversation for things to do.
Yeah. So that's kind of a direction I'm planning ahead at some.
Okay. So I do, like I said, I have some questions here. And I've got some, we made a little document here. The first one that I'm going to ask you all to answer is, individually, what was the biggest curveball you guys were thrown? I will answer mine at the very end. But I would like to know what your guys' biggest curveballs were.
Do you have one?
Sorry, I was unintentionally muted there. It's hard to choose. There's been so many curveballs.
I don't know if that's a compliment for my MC style or.
Oh, definitely, because even as a player who kind of has somewhat of an idea of what we're doing, I have no idea what we're doing most of the time. I gotta say, I mean, one of the biggest curveballs, for sure, has been just how tied in Aegis has been to everybody.
Yeah,
because I mean, like, I'll hear we for the listeners to hear, we didn't know what each other's backstories were when we recorded our first episode.
Yeah,
we had not yet heard the backstories when we all met as characters.
I will admit that was intentional.
Oh, and it was fantastic.
No,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. I think that was definitely the biggest curveball was uh, immediately finding out that who who Zephyr's dad is and how he was connected. Like I had to like pause for a second, like, okay, how is Goron gonna not immediately lose it on that bit?
But I also very much tied a situation like that into Goron's backstory.
Yeah, and that was super helpful too. Was okay. This he sees a lot of like Mabel and a lot of Lord, my brain's not working.
Rose.
Apologies, not Rose.
Not Rose?
Sarah.
Yeah,
and,
Sarah.
and Zephyr, and so it's almost this weird like it's a sort of combination of the two in certain ways. So he kind of sees Zephyr not like it's like a little brother or anything, but like okay, I need to make sure this guy's okay. He seems kind of fragile, so I'm gonna look out for him and make sure he's all right, while we continue what we're trying to do.
Right. So
And Zephyr's just flying by the seat of his pants consistently.
It's noticeable. It's obvious.
So
And
for me, there are two curveballs that were thrown at me quite heavily. One of which, if you listen back to the episode, you'll hear it in my voice where I was like, what am I going to do now? And that is Zephyr going back to that damn tavern.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
That was fun.
Literally everyone on the call is like staring like, what are you doing? No. It's just trying to be silent because no one else is there. And
I needed a snack.
Yeah, but you didn't have to go to the tavern.
And a lot of the confusion you hear in my voice was genuine because I had not thought that through at all. It was just kind of, I'm just doing this.
Yeah, neither Zephyr or Jesse thought that one through.
Right. Another question that we got. Not so much. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. You said there were two curveballs.
Yes, I'm going to save the second one for the other
Yeah.
tales that will be coming out next week.
Okay.
Because it actually pertains to one of them. So it kind of lined up perfectly that I had two curveballs that were thrown at me. One in front of the scenes, one a little bit more behind the scenes.
I feel I've been issued a challenge.
I'm not trying to issue a challenge. All right. So there's a question here. And I very much I'm going to answer it, and I'm going to have you guys kind of chime in a little bit, right? So one of the questions that we got was, how much lore and how many maps did you develop before starting, and was it a group effort? So to answer the full entirety of the question, I had 5 maps before we started the podcast that I hadn't already made for other things and then used it for this situation, in our situation. With that being said, was it a group? Was building the world? So I'm gonna interpret how much lore as how much world building was done before starting. You guys both know that it was absolutely a group effort. because, and I think was it you, Adam, that was almost like, I don't know what you want from me kind of thing, until you're like, what about something like this? And I'm just like, yeah, sure. And that's when we eventually built up your Goron's hometown.
Yeah. I know for Treemount. I think so. I think it was me with Treemount. I wasn't sure, and I think I was just like, I don't know, City of Treehouses would be cool. And you were like, yeah, that sounds perfect. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's awesome. All right, yeah. And then we sort of built it out pretty quickly from there. And I think it turned out really, really well. I really love playing around in Treemount. And I'm very excited to go back at some point to see how everyone's doing after everything.
Right.
Yeah. So, Jesse,
Yes.
yours, we actually didn't build your hometown because your hometown was something that was already part of the world. What was
Yes.
it that we built around Zephyr?
Well, I mean, honestly, to say that, I gotta say, kind of the whole thing is that I started with a very rough character thought. You know, it was just kind of like, I'm gonna be this guy that kind of nimble, does some stuff, and it built up with a lot of back and forth between us. But I mean, it was just storytelling between the both of us and refining it. It went from just this rough idea to this whole huge backstory with Aegis. I still cannot get the pronunciation of that right, but it's okay, because as the listeners will probably attest to, can't get my accent right either. I mean, having that character as Zephyr's dad honestly wasn't even really the original plan, I don't think. But somewhere along the way, it became the plan. And we ran.
Before recording, we were
Yes.
like, why don't we just make it this person?
Yeah.
And you're like, yes.
Yeah.
You didn't
We-
know what all that was going to entail at the time.
No, I did not. And we ran with it. I mean, even with the back and forth, so that I had an idea of what I was going to be playing Zephyr as. But
Right.
when we actually sat down to record, I was not expecting the whole backstory that we went through. Neither one of us was expecting quite that much, because a lot of that got cut, but that was a long recording.
That was a 4-hour recording session that we cut down to an 1.5 hour episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and this is a question I am also going to ask again next week, but I very much feel that while it is my job to understand the world, and it is your guys' job to engage with the world, the easiest way for me to facilitate engagement is to go, what do you want? Tell me what you want. If I have a problem with it, we'll have a conversation. There's one line that when we were coming up with the character idea for Goron, there was a question that I had asked you that very much decided what Goron's kind of path was going to be. And do you remember what that was, Adam?
I know a lot of what happened hinged on how he interacted with Sarah Oakspeaker.
Okay.
Or Thief Spawn at the time. I know that was a big part of how a lot of things played out.
Okay, so I'm actually talking about even before that. So I asked you a question, and my question was, with this idyllic life that we built in Tremont,
Oh, right. Are you okay with something terrible happening?
it's like, why does he leave?
Yeah.
What was my question? Like, why does he leave? And you're like, honestly, I don't know. And I'm like, are you okay with a little bit of tragedy?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, sure. And we ended up with what we ended up with, which I'm quite proud of.
Oh, very much. It's fantastic. Absolutely.
Now, we have a couple more questions here, one of which I'm going to ask you all. And I'm very curious on Jesse's answer to this question. What is something that is different for you all between playing for a podcast and just playing at a table? Or is it different for you all? Because 100% it is for me.
It is and it isn't. So to me, it's been a long time since I've been at an actual table. But as far as like our group games over, Discord and stuff like that, a lot of them they're a little bit more just screw around. They're sillier. But pretty much all of them are very story driven. This one is way more story driven than any other ones I've played. And that's not to say that it's not or that it's entirely story driven, but it's a very much your choices affect what's happening. And so to me, it's we are all telling a story together, and not just here's a campaign, we're going to run through this campaign, and whatever happens. This is very much we're all telling a story for the listeners, but also for ourselves, because we have no idea what's happening.
Right. And something that I think me and Adam will both probably echo each other, having a little bit of experience. If we're not having fun, everyone's going to realize it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I threw so many puns into the last episode.
Right. Oh my god. I could not believe how many eye puns when I was going through and editing that. And so for me, some things that I definitely do differently, knowing that we're playing for a podcast, is I make Jesse and Adam, you guys know I talk about my cards.
Yep.
Yes.
I have over 130 cards, note cards, with flash notes on it, that then I can grab that flash note and remember what's in the big note pile just off of the flash notes. That being said, I do not do that for my normal games. I normally write up a page or two about what the session's going to be, and I'll run it off of those 2 pages. If I got to scroll up and down or do like a quick search to find something that I can't remember and it's going to take a little more time, okay. With the podcast, though, I try to be as prepared as possible. I don't think any of you have ever fully stumped me.
I came pretty close.
I just didn't want you to die after the first boss fight.
Oh, that was so funny.
With no one around. That was the part that was getting me the most.
I was like, going for a stroll.
I'm just gonna grab something to eat real quick. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm kind of hungry. We already killed the guy that put the bounty out. What does it matter?
All right.
I'm just celebrating.
So, Adam.
Yep.
The question was, what's something that is different between playing for a podcast and playing at a table?
So, when I'm just playing a character at a table, it is different than so like playing Goron, right? I have in the back of my mind always that understanding that, this is not just a game, this is also a show. People are listening to this. So there's always that little thing in the back of my mind of like, okay, play your character authentically and play the way you usually play, but also make sure that it's fun for other people to listen to, right? Because there's a difference between playing for fun just for me and playing fun for people that are going to be hearing it later. And like, I'm not in any way trying to say that I'm not having fun. I'm having a blast with Goron. He's been incredibly fun to play so far, role-playing and mechanically. I really love the way he's been. That, like, try and stay in character a little more and try and, like, sort of talk out his train of thought in his voice a little more often instead of just saying, like, sitting here and being like, yeah, Goron's gonna do this because he thinks this thing. It's just a way of presenting my choices, or his choices, and, like, the way I get to those decisions that helps the listeners follow along, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it does. Now, we had kind of touched on it a little bit a couple seconds ago, but I want to bring this, pose this question to the two of you. I have my answer, okay? But I want to know your guys' opinions. What would you say the plot and progression of things has affected the characters more, or has it been the other way around that the characters have affected the plot more?
Interesting. So, immediate events, I think, like right now where we're at, as of this recording, is the first bounty. We're like in the middle of that. I think the immediate events have been largely shaped by the characters, but I think the overall plot has definitely been the thing that's shaped the character decisions, right? Like, the thing we're aiming for, the decisions we're making are all because of what's happened and because of this goal that we're trying to get to, which is Aegis Windwalker. And so, like, that, like, having that clear and present thing, because the other stuff that we've sort of touched on a little bit with the artifacts or whatever, and the anchor being one of them, maybe, or confirmed or whatnot, like, that's, I think that is sort of the largest arc, right? Like, that's the most overall thing that's going to happen down the road, probably. But the thing that's happening right now is the stuff with Aegis. And so, like, that massive arc of those artifacts and, like, trying to figure all that stuff out, that's not really a factor right now. Like, eventually we'll get to that, but, like, that's not affecting us, and we are not affecting that in any way. The Aegis stuff is affecting our choices, and our choices are affecting what happens right now on this island we're in.
Okay.
So it's like a lasagna of...
Yeah. So I gotta agree with a lot of that, is that it's been a lot of both. Because, I mean, clearly Zephyr's backstory has had a lot of impact on everything that's happening right now, and everybody's backstories have had a lot of impact on what they're doing and why they're doing it and why they're here. But aside from the backstories, since we've all met as characters, our interactions with each other and our interactions with, like, how we're role-playing them have all changed a little bit because the characters have grown. And we've kind of grown into those characters.
It's also true.
I mean, Zephyr is still definitely coming across as the kind of, not immature necessarily, so much as just kind of naive.
And young. Like, this
And yeah,
is something,
he's just...
like, he is the youngest one out of the group.
And not only is he the youngest, but he has no real world experiences. He's been in Dry for his whole life, other than a few months on a ship, you know? And so that's coloring a lot of his reactions, is going, huh, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm gonna kind of look at a lot of it. But then being around this group, and Usuri being kind of like the I kind of feel like Zephyr looks at him as like a cool uncle or a big brother or something, you know. Goron is definitely big brother or like Papa Bear.
You're
You
sure
know?
there's that uncle that the kids have a lot of fun with, but all the
Yeah.
parents are a little concerned about the kids hanging out with. Like, you can go say hi and talk to him, but you need to stay where we can see you.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's Kobe that's just like,
Ledge.
he's the hippie, you know. He's just he's that hippie that's
He's
making
either-
cool pastries and playing some music.
That's so funny. He's either fully down to party or absolutely ready to cut somebody.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There is no in between. It is one
No,
or the other.
And
so-
I think it's very fun.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Absolutely.
So
But I mean, all of that being said, the choices that we're making are affecting where we're going from here, because we don't know what we're doing. Our characters don't know what they're doing. We're just kind of like, we have a general idea of where we need to go, but we don't know how we're getting. So a lot of it is just the plot is shaping the characters, but the characters are gonna shape the plot, because
You
from
guys are
here
the main
on out, from here on out, it is just, where do we go?
So, this is how I'm going to answer this question. I know what will happen if your 4 characters never existed.
That's fair.
That will happen. You guys don't engage with something. You guys don't decide to do X or Y. That storyline's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It might come back to bite you. It might peter out. Life is like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yes, there's plenty of story-driven things that are happening. But you guys, and I had kind of let it slip earlier, one of my biggest things about TTRPGs in general is the players are the main characters of the story. There's gonna be story, but it's up to you guys to make the decisions.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is that we are all telling a story together.
Mhm.
You've set the world. This is where we're at. Here's a general idea of where it's going. It's up to us how our characters are going to interact with that story.
So, and that's just how I view any TTRPG that I run. That's my own. If I'm running a pre-written campaign, it's like, guys, we have rails for this one. Come on, let's find them. Right?
It's not in the book. You can't talk to him. It's not in the book.
No, I won't be like, you can't talk to him. It's not in the book, but I will be like, hey,
It's
there
been
is
3
this-
hours.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
been in this hallway for hours.
Oh, guys, this building is on fire. Can we get out of here?
Right.
Anyway, but we are actually, this is going quite a bit longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, that happens.
But I do have a couple quick questions. If both of you were to pick one favorite NPC so far, who would it be for you?
Oh man. It's kind of hard. Luna's awesome. Um,
That is a tough
if not
choice.
her, then Belle for sure. Both of them are fun to interact with every time.
Okay.
And the thought of Belle running after one of Usuri's raiding thugs the entire morning or the entire 3 days, and us truly just not even noticing for the longest time is still so funny to me.
Mm-hmm. Jesse.
So one of the characters that cracked me up the most has got to be Belle's dad. That interaction did not at all go how I thought it was going to go. And I mean, I'm sure y'all could hear it. I couldn't breathe. Whenever he said that he put the contract out on her, I could not breathe. I was laughing so hard. Part of that was the voice, but part of that was just the story. It cracked me up. Not a huge NPC to the story by any means, but that interaction was one of my favorites.
Now, if I had to be honest, I do have someone in mind that I enjoy bringing to life the most. Welcome to my shop. How are you doing today?
Jaskar.
Yeah, of course.
His energy is almost infectious. I love it when you guys go talk to him.
He reminds me of was it Marcus from Borderlands a little bit?
A little bit, and Marcus, I did pull him for a little bit of inspiration.
Yeah.
Along with a whole fuck ton of other places
Oh yeah,
that I went to for inspiration, right? Like he's not a 1-for-1 copy by any means.
no, not at all. Just similar.
Mannerisms,
Yeah, similar mannerisms.
you know. But Jaskar is one of my favorite NPCs that you guys have interacted with. Luna coming out and that first that combat session of her just demolishing that dude
Oh, my
was
gosh.
Wrecking shop out the gate.
it was super hype.
Love it.
And I love it. But Jaskar has to be one of my favorites to bring to life.
See, I thought you were gonna say Klep.
Klep
know
was
you-
a lot of fun too. Klep was a lot of fun too. But
I could tell you enjoyed Klep.
so I knew Klep was gonna die.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I couldn't let Klep.
Right. From the first time I voiced him till he died, I knew he was gonna die. Right. Was he a throwaway? No, absolutely not. He had plenty of things he needed to talk about and say and do. And plenty of important story beats that, you guys got your ship because of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even with all that being said, I knew he was going to die. So I have a very hard time saying when I build an NPC that I know is going to die,
Yeah,
they're almost never going to be my favorite.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fair.
Like I very much enjoyed playing the original Smudge. I knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
He's not dead. He's just reincarnated.
Right. One of the questions, and I think I may have actually took it down incorrectly. So I wanna look this up because I want to answer the question that was asked.
Okay. In the meantime, real quick, Jesse.
Yes.
So, from the Beatles, who's Paul, who's John, and who's Ringo? And who's the other one? I think there's a fourth one. Yeah, there's a fourth one. I forget the name.
I feel like I might lose some fans here, but I don't know enough about their history to really answer that.
No, that's fair.
I wasn't a Beatles guy. I like some of their music, but I don't know their story.
Yeah. Same. The only thing that comes to mind, Lesh is Ringo. I don't know how that's gonna play out, but that's what I got. And I feel like Usuri is Paul.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. For the little bit that I know of them,
Yeah.
I definitely feel like he's Paul and Goron is John.
Okay. So, because this is a question I have actually gotten from more than one person, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to ask it and answer it. So, one of our listeners, who also plays Mythcraft, was like, "How did you come up with magic item prices?" So, this is what I did. I'm nice. What I did when it came to the magic items and their prices is we are given a range in the books of what each rarity should cost, and it's a rather large range. So what I do is I will take, so Duelist Delight, for example, right?
Mhm.
They gave us a range of how much that should cost. I took the bottom number of that range, added the price of a hand crossbow, and 50 silver.
Yeah.
Fair.
But again, I am nice, and that method may not work for every table. Certain things that I didn't have like a good example of what it should cost. I'm thinking of the Amulet of Thirst. I went halfway. I went dead halfway of the range with the Amulet of Thirst
Okay.
because you don't really have a good. What should a necklace cost?
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not saying this works for every table. I'm not even saying that this will work in every town. This is what I did for this town.
Yeah. Just to be nice.
Yeah, I
At least
think
the
we
first
had
time.
discussed that at one point, was that odds were high that different towns were going to have wildly different prices.
Yes, we did mention that somewhere during the shopping. Which
I wasn't sure if that was during the shopping or if that was a Discord conversation.
I thought it was during one of the recordings. I could be wrong. But
Okay.
that does bring me back to a question asked earlier about items being used more or less often than we thought.
Yeah.
The Amulet of Thirst, I'm curious to see how often that one's used. I'm wondering if it'll be used less often than I thought when I bought it. But we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit of a wait period.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
I gotta say, I feel like Zephyr came out ahead in the items department from that whole thing.
Well, as like a pure spellcaster, there weren't really any items
Yeah.
that fit super great. Like nothing like improved my spells or anything like that, or like improved my ability to cast anything.
So
yeah, we are low level. I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
really
all very
expect a
I'm not-
huge boost to our.
Yeah. I wasn't
stuff.
disappointed by any means. It's just
No.
I just noticed that. That's why I grabbed the amulet and I grabbed the cask, because those seemed like fun items that I thought we would get some kind of use out of somewhere, or it would be good for a solid bit.
which is awesome. And I'm glad that you guys like enjoyed going through and finding what was there, because believe me, that is not every item in the book.
Oh no, yeah.
Not by a long shot.
Now, there are. I'm looking through here. For anyone that did submit questions, I've kind of alluded to it. I only have half of my crew here. We're not going to go over every question that was submitted today.
Okay.
One question that 2 questions that we got that I absolutely love. And I'm just going to ask them. Why are you guys so freaking awesome?
Just pure luck.
Yeah. Just luck and raw talent. I don't know what to tell you. No, it is honestly, it's been a lot of fun doing this with everybody. I think
It's a group effort for sure.
Oh, definitely. I think everyone came into this like, priority 1, have fun, enjoy what we're doing. Everything else is frosting, and like, I think everyone being a fan of Mythcraft, of the system we're playing, definitely helped with that. And like, everyone's been chill and supportive, and like, we've been very open with like, everything from step 1. Like, nobody was stepping on toes. Everybody was like, this is what I'm thinking, what do you guys think? And like, everybody was ready and moving forward with the idea that we were going to collaborate as a group, rather than sort of like how like 1 or 2 people making all the decisions. And I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, nobody came in here as a diva of just like, this is what we're gonna do, and if I don't get my, yet nobody has that I have to have my way about this.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely in any group, having a group of people that's just willing to work together makes a huge difference.
All right. And the final question of the night is, and you guys have kind of already answered it. Why do you think you all work so well together? Like some cool and crazy, awesome, androgynous mix, like slime.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think everything we just said, and like, I think everybody, specifically for the podcast side of this and the AP side of this, everybody came into this wanting to take a part to help split up everything, right? Like, I handle the threads and the Instagram. I know Kobe's doing the TikTok.
And helping me with the editing.
Yeah, and which is humongous. And Jesse does the Facebook, and like, everybody is taking a share of the workload outside of just recording.
Right.
And that wasn't forced in any way. That was everybody basically like volunteering to do stuff.
It was voluntary / me going, guys, if we're gonna do this, we have to have a division of labor. Because
however I can help, let me help. That was everybody's mentality.
Yeah, very much so.
Absolutely. I was just saying, there's only been one time where anyone has been, it's gonna be this way. And that was me saying we have to have a division of labor.
Yeah, which I think everybody would have done regardless. But yeah, it was good to have that, like,
someone stepping forward and coming out, this needs to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because especially me having no experience with this at all, I wouldn't have known that you needed the help.
Oh yeah,
right. And I definitely did not. I was trying my absolute best not to come off as I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I was in a similar position with the one that I did, where I was pushing all of the socials as well, which was just, but still, that's a lot. But yeah, I think, and like, everybody has a fairly similar sense of humor, and we're all very aware of where everybody's comfortable, and everybody makes sure to stay there.
Yep.
No one's trying to push anything. No one's, everyone's very aware and respectful of boundaries, and Yeah, just we're all out to have fun and do this thing as a labor of love.
And you said it right there. We're all out to have fun. To me,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that makes us all work together is that we had no clue whether we were going to get followers or whether we were going to get views. We just said, we're doing this. If we get viewers, awesome. If we don't, we're going to have fun.
And
so-
I'm still like we talked about it earlier. We're all blown away at the
Oh,
fact that we do have
It was so
listeners.
fast.
Absolutely
So
blown away.
fast.
And it is, you know, and it has been amazing. And I would like to say to anyone that's made it listen to us rant for the last hour, thank you all for listening, because you guys definitely help us keep going.
Oh, 100%.
You know, you guys definitely make. I get a message at work, hey, there's something wrong with the episode. It's only a minute long. You all definitely make those minor heart palpitations worth it. So, with those two wonderful questions, I am actually going to wrap us up for this. Anybody have any final thoughts that they would like to go on?
No, I think everything is just getting started. The story, the characters, the goofs for sure. I think it's going to be a very, very fun and very entertaining ride. And I know we all appreciate everyone for jumping on board.
All right.
Definitely. And just because Joey's not in this one, somebody's got to say it. Spaz is daddy.
Thank you all for listening to the first episode of Tales of Tales. We hope you enjoyed listening, and we would love it if you let us know. Catch us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and TikTok under Tales of Yavard Podcast. The link to the link tree is in the episode description. If you really enjoyed the episode, give us a rating on whichever podcatcher you use. Tell your friends and spread the word.